So let's get to the latest on the migrant crisis. And a day after James Cleverly said he wanted to reduce the number of small boat arrivals to zero by the end of 2024, it's emerged that Channel migrant crossings are likely to once again increase this year. The number of arrivals last year fell to below 30,000, but Border Force officials have told the government they expect around 35,000 migrants to cross the Channel in 2024. In fact, it could be as high as 50,000. Now, joining us now is former Chief Immigration Officer Kevin Saunders. Kevin, always a pleasure to have you on the show, and Happy New Year to you. So here we go again. The government are promising to stop the boats. It's going to be zero, they say. James Cleverly doggedly sticking to his guns like King Canute, determined to stop this tide. Yet, the actual reality, far different. They can't stop the boats, can they, Kev?
Good afternoon, Martin. We will eventually stop the boats. I have no idea who in Border Force has been silly enough to say that they're expecting between 35 and 50,000 people to come across this year. I mean, we've seen these silly numbers before. I mean, at one stage, I think a couple of years ago, faceless people were saying it was going to be 85,000. So you can't base anything on these estimates. They're just out. There's just no substance to them. We saw the numbers go down this year significantly because the French are doing more and because the good old British weather was awful. And because the weather was so bad, people couldn't come across the Channel. So we've just got to wait and see what happens. A lot depends on how effective the French are. And again, as I say, the weather.
Yeah, Kev, although I thought it wasn't the weather, I thought it was James Cleverly. I digress. Border Force are basing these estimates, Kevin, on the fact that the number of migrants entering Europe rose 80% last year, and in Italy alone it jumped from 105,000 to 155,000. So they're basing their estimates on the fact that if we've seen a huge insurge into the European Union countries, then it stands to reason that ultimately, throughout the course of this year, they will make their way to Calais and then on to Britain. Seems reasonable.
Some will try and come to Calais, but we have a much more effective deterrent on the beaches in Calais. And I know we like to knock the French a bit, and I'm one of the people that does. But they are doing a much better job. They are stopping a lot more boats leaving French waters. And what they're doing is they're destroying the vessels on the beach. So there isn't an endless supply of rubber dinghies. We've already seen that the standard of the dinghies is getting really poor, whereas a couple of years ago they were a lot more rigid. So there is that. But Border Force can't say that there's going to be more people coming across just because there are more people in Europe. When I was working, we were being told that it was going to be 100,000, and it never was. So I would take these figures with a bit of a pinch of salt.
OK, thank you very much. We're going to have to leave it there. Kevin Saunders, former Chief Immigration Officer. I admire your optimism.